Gonna bring Nicky in. We're going live for the energy of properties and houses, for the energy of houses and properties with my colleague Nicky Koopmans. Come join. All right. Okay. Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Let me put my volume up here.
Yes.
Does that even work? Okay, yeah. Hey.
Good morning.
Good morning. It's June. It's June.
Yeah. It looks like we were alive.
How are you feeling? Are you still having the cough? Or
I lost my voice for about 10 days. I didn't have a voice. After I lost the episode, I lost my voice. And it came back 2 days ago. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Apparently, I'll be dealing with it for a couple more weeks, according to the doctors. So,
Okay.
But I'm fine.
Okay. Well, I wish you a really integrated healing.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So, Nicky, I'm delighted you're here on my profile. I want to introduce you for the new people who are streaming through, who have just started joining our Instagram lives. I want to do an introduction. Nicky is a house healer and geomancer, and she helps you to build your own personal power place by aligning the energies in your house a lot with your own energy to bring harmony, balance, joy, abundance. And I call her the detective. She does the detective work of finding any kind of unalignments in terms of energies and yourself as well, and helps you to bring it back into a whole on, as your company name is, Nicky. I'm so delighted to be doing these talks with you. They're so inspiring, so fruitful, I feel, to get the conversation going about, how property design, how even if you're not designing a home, but even just living in a home is more than just finding a house, liking it, it's not as simple as just living in a bunch of rooms. It's not as simple as that. And our houses are another layer of us. And as you teach us all the time, we attract our houses for a reason. We attract our properties for a reason. And these properties, these houses have something to teach us. And so thank you for doing the work that you do and enlightening us on this very deep and yet very deep topic. Very deep topic. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I can only say I really enjoy our conversations as well. And I think more and more people are getting to know us and getting inspired by us. So, yeah, just keep on going and keep us sending your questions. So if you're watching now or when you watch the replay and you have a question, just put it in our DM or in an email so we can look at it for either today or in the next episode, so you can have your questions answered. So yeah, we love your questions. So did you receive any?
Yeah. I didn't receive any. I was just looking quickly. I didn't receive any. What about you, Nicky?
I found a really interesting question. And that question is clearing the same as healing? And that is a really rich
Oh,
question, I
that is
think, because it brings
fantastic.
us back to the basis. What is healing and what is clearing? So,
I love it. Yeah. Well, I'm hosting you, Nikki, and I would love for you to uh, open up the platform to you to expand on that, to share your insights, your reflections through your years of experience. Is there a difference between healing and clearing?
yeah. Well, first of all, there is a difference. I don't think they are the same. I think they can amplify each other. I think it is possible to do clearing without any healing, but I'm not so sure if healing can take place without any clearing. I don't know what you think about that, but maybe we should define first what healing and clearing exactly is. According to me, a clearing is about bringing stuff and energies back in their rightful place, in the rightful space, and in the rightful time. Talk about dimension. And healing is about creating a shift in the now, in the here and now. So, I'm sorry. This healing is about creating a shift in the here and now back into the direction of your original blueprint. And it doesn't really matter if the blueprint is about a place or a space or your own personal blueprint. And as we know, as being geomancers, places and spaces should be connected with your own personal being. So that's what I think about clearing and healing. I don't know what your perspective is, because you are the creator of the original blueprint. Thanks. So, you must know, you must have done into this subject as well.
Well, I'm definitely a transmitter for the sacred blueprint, and many of us are on a subconscious level. We could get into who's involved in really creating these blueprints. The devas are involved, the light beings, the angelic realm. They're all passing information down to earth for people's original blueprints, or they help to craft the blueprints of place as well. And our blueprints are transforming as well. So that's also something to keep in mind as well. It's not a static thing. In fact, this original blueprint that you talk about, Nikki, is an evolving blueprint as well, as we unfold. Yeah, and it also it actually also holds all of our potential unfoldment in this blueprint. So yeah, it's a both and. Healing versus clearing. I can pull from my experience as an alchemical energy healer. For those of you who have joined, I'm an architect, geomancer, and an alchemical energy healer, and this is based in the ancient Egyptian mysteries. And my teacher, Nicky Scully in the U.S. founded this modality. She developed this modality in partnership with the Neteru, the nature spirits of Egypt, these gods and goddesses of the ancient Egyptian pantheon. They're energies. They're all around us. Doesn't matter what their names are. They're supporting humanity right now. And my teacher, Nicole Baylog in Ontario. So I just wanted to give a shout out to them, respect to them. So absolutely, in a healing session, some clearing is needed involved. I'd say not always. I'm talking about a healing session on a body, right? On your own body. But it's a reminder to everyone, our bodies are the land is our body. So when Nikki and I are speaking about our bodies, we're also speaking about your homes. We're also speaking about gardens. And we can maybe, Nicky, I'd love to ask you for some examples of this in your work, examples of, you know, healing and clearing in your own work with houses. Clearing, it's so important to understand that clearing exactly is not just about getting rid of, like, oh, I've got to clear these bad energies, and you know, it's like as if you're trying to push them out, make them exit your field. This is something that I see a lot in spiritual circles, where it's like, okay, it's time to clear the old energies. It's time to clear the old forms. It's time to clear my ego. This is a big one. Time to clear all my ego stuff, we got to clear. But what happens there is there's an issue with spiritual bypassing. So what you do is you bypass the integration of the healing. And in fact, it's often what happens is you don't want to face your shadow and the dark side. So I'm going a bit deep here, but it's really important that, yes, clearing is a part of the healing process. And like Nicky described, it's really important to know, and this is something that we're trained in, how to direct specific energies to their rightful places. How to direct energies to go back into the wholeness, back into the oneness. How to direct them so they may also transform into their highest potential. Because if we're just clearing, and a lot of energy healers will do this, they'll open up your aura. You could open up the auras or portals of a house and the garden, right? You could just do a bunch of opening, and then your whole field is open and susceptible to receiving energies that may be unwanted, depending on your story and your makeup. But all I'm saying is that we must be responsible in energy cleanup, energy maintenance, where to put the garbage. And it may not always be garbage. It may actually be a very valuable energy, but that is just no longer needed at this time for you. And it's time to pass it on. In a session I did with a couple years ago with a friend of mine, we helped to guide the ghost of her house into the light, into wherever she needed to go. And it was very clear that along with this ghost were a bunch of other beings, other ghosts, energies that were not serving the transformation of the place. So clearing, I'm actually just focusing on clearing to be very clear about what that is. And I've been in those moments in my life where I wanted to spiritually bypass things and remove myself from the full integration of healing. So healing for me is a very integrative process where you are fully facing, acknowledging your shadows and not hiding from them, not trying to mask it with a bunch of crystals and perfume and smells. And we love crystals, don't get us wrong, don't get me wrong, we love crystals, but we really need to face our shadows, and this is an integral part of healing, I feel. And yes, I feel like healing is definitely more of an umbrella name. Clearing can be a part of healing. I just feel that healing is it's really important to listen if you, for example, have an illness. And maybe it's chronic, right? If, you know, you don't have to take every illness so seriously. You know, it might just be a cold and that's fine. But if it's something chronic, if it's something that you feel is really deep, it's so important to be with the illness and to listen to what it is telling you. So you fully embrace it and integrate it. There's a card in the Neteru, and I'm just gonna try to find them. This is the, and they're coming to me. I took a break from these for a while, but they are the cards of the Neteru of the ancient Egyptian pantheon. Set is our shadow. And then there is another card which I'll look through. Here. Yeah. This one is also Horus and Sobek. The reconciliation of opposites. Forgiveness, understanding. So there's a lot of parts of us. There's a lot of parts of us that really need acknowledging, and we really need to fully integrate things in order to heal. So it's not about pushing stuff away only. It's not about, oh, it's like releasing the dark forces, releasing or trying to pull everything away and throw it away. I take an approach where there needs to be, we need to face, integrate, transmute, transform, alchemize all of that into gold. And part of that alchemical process, absolutely some clearing is involved, but when you do it in the right way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to somehow create some room to be able to move. So if you just talk about, you know, boxes and stuff, you know, you can't start unless you make some room first, so you can really see what's there. And what's there and needed for us as a person doesn't necessarily have to be the same that what we need in our environment. So about clearing stuff away, all the bad stuff away and pushing it out, we need bad energies, because we need also beings that use these bad energies. That for us, they're not so good for our well-being. But how would you be able to transform the compost without these bad energies? You couldn't. It couldn't happen. Where would the ants and the bees live without these, what we interpret as bad energy? So there is nothing that I would say bad energies don't exist. There exist energies that are not good for our well-being. There's a difference. So you have to be really careful by clearing out everything, because you might mess up a whole ecosystem.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? We still live, as you remind us all the time, in a dualistic world. And I know we are moving into a new paradigm where the dualism is disappearing in a way, but we still are in manifested form, and we need those opposites. We need the dark and the light. We need, and then when we work with both of them, Steiner also talked about Lucifer and Ahriman, right? The Ahrimanic forces, the Luciferic forces, the light. You know, sometimes if you're too Luciferic, you just float away up into the sky and you're not grounded in earth. The Ahriman is like materialism, like, right? Hard materialism. No spirit is moving through that mass of darkness, right? When you take it to that extreme. But our bodies have both, and we need both in order to transform. Yeah. Nicky, that's such a great question. Whoever sent it, I wonder if that person is here. Does anyone else have any questions as Nikki and I are in conversation? Please, we welcome your aha moments, your takeaways, what really struck a chord in you, and if you have any questions. So type away in the comments. Yeah, Nikki, it's yeah, a lot also comes up for me with relationships in houses too, and that's something that I wanted to talk to you about, ask you questions. But is there anything else that that you could give us some examples about when you work with clients in their homes and their properties with the distinction of healing and clearing? Anything that could anchor it in an example?
It always goes in almost in a landscape all the time. Huh? Because the clearing and the healing. Because the place where you live, your house, is a reflection of you. So if you experience a problem in your house, this problem or a version of that problem also plays a part in your personal life, in your personal history. I was with a client a couple of weeks ago, and the complaint was we do not feel at home in our own house. And the atmosphere was really tense, really nervous. And when I arrived, it always takes a while to absorb all the energies, of course. And this family did a lot of research in the history of the house, so they knew a lot about the former owners, which always helps. And then their personal history came out as well in the one fact, the soul contract. And there was a history of anxiety in that family. There was a history of anxiety in the house. The former owner, the lady of the house, didn't want to leave the premises. She had what you call that, a fear of being outside. There's this phobia.
Okay, so this is when she was living in the house.
Yeah, when the former owner
and she had leaving, so she would just stay in her house all the time. Okay.
Yeah, and in the history of the family, there was also a couple of stories of anxiety and phobias. So the house reflected the history of the family as well. And when you talk about these things, because I'm there to help with the house, and you don't think about, as a client, you don't think about, we need to talk about what's happening in my family, the rest of the family, and in my child. But because you talk about it, and there is a resonance between the owners of the house and the place, you open up a space where they can clear some energy so they can move and change this impulse, this direction, changing course back into their original blueprint, their original purpose, maybe so to say, because they took on energies that did not belong to their being and started living those energies. And the house reflected that to them. So because we talk about their personal lives and we clear the energies in the space itself, there you create space and room to make this transformation. So what is exactly what? You cannot really divide it, but it goes all the time like this.
Yeah. And it's not like, oh, check, we did this first, and then we did that, and then check, you're not it's, I love it.
And of course, when you do a space clearing ritual or energy transformation ritual, then you can say, okay, now we are really working on the energies, but you're also working on the healing. And when you talk about, specific, sometimes dramatic events that happened in somebody's life, you are doing healing, but you're also working on the energies. So for me, one doesn't really go without the other, but there is a clear distinction in what is what.
Yeah. Yeah. Something that's just streaming through too for me to expand on healing as well. And as you talk about coming back to the original blueprint, in the work that I do, I'm working on with in collaboration with the spirit of the land, the nature spirits, some cosmic light beings, whoever is involved on the project team and whoever are the spirit guides of my clients. Sometimes the healing, it can involve a recalibration. It can involve a rebuilding up of the original blueprint. Often, we enter into healing work, my clients and I together, whether it be in ceremonies we do for the land, or I do a personal healing on them, alchemical energy healing session. And sometimes, there are energies that are coming in. It's very clear they are benevolent. It's very clear they're helping, and they're doing some work on the body. And it's almost like they're putting pieces back together. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it feels like just a whoosh of water coming through, or there's an infinite amount of ways that this process is experienced. But I'm just giving you an example that is not clearing. And yet, just like what you're talking about, Nicky, there is often, prior to that building stage or the work stage, there is often some release that is needed prior to that. And then maybe after that, there's another release. And then it's really like an in-breath and an out-breath. It really is like an in-breath and an out-breath.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, this whole alchemical process. Yeah, it's really helpful to hear your experience with the client. And yeah, so that must have been really eye-opening for them.
Yeah, it always is. But sometimes it's just, the healing or the clearing or both can happen in just one question, in asking one question.
I know, yeah.
And sometimes emotions run really high. You just ask a question, and in the beginning, when I started out with the work, I was like, what did I say? But because, you make the appointment and the energy start to build up, it's like you are creating a dish and you are just there to serve it. And you must experience that as well. You are there in service of the issue or the assignment, and everything. The real hard work is already done before, from the moment they gave you the assignment. Then they start
when they choose.
When they choose, yeah. And that's often expresses itself in tears. Tears are a really great release of old energies. And sometimes it's their tears because it's in their body, stored in their body somewhere. And sometimes it's the tears of the place, and they're just transforming the energies of the place because they're so interconnected with their house, their homes. And it always amazes me how capable people are and how creative they are with energies, each in their own way. And they just need a little bit of guidance because they're not used to doing it. But everybody is able to transform energy.
Yeah, I love that you engage your clients in the process and that you're not like this, it's like walking in and with your magic wand and doing your thing and nobody knows what you're doing and then you leave them and go, oh, it's finished.
It doesn't work.
Right?
It can work, and it takes maybe a few days, or maybe if you're lucky, a couple of months. But you cannot clear what is not yours. And of course, because I am there, somehow I'm involved, either because I experienced it before or I need to clear or heal something within me. Otherwise, I would not be connected with this specific issue.
I love that. Yeah.
But it's not mine. And we're going back to, ownership and stewardship and taking responsibility for your own being and your own spaces. You cannot clear what is not yours. So, and if people are watching this and are doing that, please don't. There are people that start clearing in spaces they have nothing to say about just because they think it's right. They go to this sacred site and they need to, change the energies and clear up the space because of they think it's not right.
Okay.
And that when you do that, it's like when I come to visit you and I start vacuum cleaning your house. You just don't do that. You take away somebody else's responsibility and stewardship and possibilities to make a transformation.
Yeah.
So please don't do that. You are there. If you go to sacred sites, you are there to bring something, to go into interaction, but don't mess with the energies of the place because it doesn't work. It doesn't help. It's just wasted energy from your part. You might have a nice experience, but if you leave there with the idea that you cleared out the place and that you vacuum cleaned it right for everyone else to be there, and you don't have, the role of being a patron of the place or in any way, shape, or form are involved with that site, please don't do that. It's disrespectful to yourself and to the place, and it doesn't work.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, the sacred sites often draw us to teach us something, and it's best to sit and listen and ask questions. Yeah, that's what I love about your work too, Nicky, is that a lot comes through from what my understanding and what you shared with me is that a lot comes through the conversation and asking questions. Asking questions. Yeah.
An interaction is.
We have. Yeah.
There was.
Go ahead. Yeah, I was going to.
Yeah, interaction is always good. You cannot do without interaction, and if you are more aware, you can interact more. And this interaction changes you, and it changes the place as well. But that's different than just clearing out and start some healing the place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we have a question here. What is a good way to face the dark side? Is it just accept? Nicky, what do you think?
Just accept, maybe, but that's very hard for a lot of people. I think it helps with accepting is that you gain insight of the why. Our mind always wants to know the why. And if you understand the energy, then maybe your mind doesn't necessarily want to know the why, because you understand the energies. And then it's just some kind of mystical experience. But because we have our mind and not a lot of people are very fluent in quieting the mind. It is always nice to help the mind and find an explanation, just to keep it, at peace, so you understand. But I have a lot of experience. If I try to explain it, I can't. And then I have to make up a story for the mind, or because I want to tell you.
Right. It's like, okay, how am I going to tell you this experience in words? Right.
Yeah, and yeah, what is the dark? What is the dark to you? Are you afraid of it? Is it scary, or is it just, a different quality of energy? I don't know. What do you think? It's not just about accepting. It's about looking at it, knowing what it means to you, what it means to the place. Maybe you have an example, Fenneke.
Yeah, if you have an example, please add it in with something more specific. Acceptance is a very powerful thing, absolutely. But the question is what is the thing you want to, what is the thing to accept? So, and there's this, this conversation could go in so many different directions. Yeah. And we, just one aspect of that potential conversation can be a lot of what we carry ourselves, maybe some childhood traumas, things that we experienced in the first 7 years of our life, maybe in a past life, maybe in a parallel life, and we can carry those things that end up being nested in the subconscious, in the shadow realm, and those can be the dark side, and we're carrying the dark side, just taking some card out here more again, to explain, to bring something else forward in a moment. And in many, as I grow, as I unfold, and when I'm working with spaces more, and with couples, with individuals working on their properties and doing this healing work, a lot can come from fears. This dark side can come from fears that were planted within us at a young age. Mm-hmm. This is what sometimes in a past life. And in many cases, the acknowledgement of that aspect of us that's always knocking on the door, but we just want to ignore it. We want to ignore it, but it will just spew itself through anger, or, when it's untended to, these shadow sides of us, and we're not acknowledging and communicating and telling them that we understand, it's almost like this self-parenting, I find, that we do need to do. Then the dark can spew out in our life in a negative way, But I'll take, the cards are coming through, Nicky. The cards are coming through. Then we have number 2, Nephthys, and she's the high priestess. So if anyone is in it looks cards, tarot cards. I'm not a tarot card expert. I just have 2 decks, and that's it. So number 2 is what was it in in the classic tarot deck, I forget now, but anyway, it's also a female. And this is intuition mystery, the high priestess. And she very, very much about the dark, about the shadows and what comes through the mystery, what is veiled. And there's a lot that you can collaborate with the dark as well.
Yeah.
You know, you can collaborate with night, with shadows.
Things fertilize in the dark.
Things fertilize in the dark. Oh, that's so beautiful, Nicky. Exactly.
And because Fennec is adding to find the dark place, how you find it. It's most often things that make you scared, things you are afraid of, things that make you angry, things that make you jealous. All these things are worth looking at, or giving it a closer look.
Yeah.
And often, not always, often when we talk about energies, we experience darker energies more as heavy. Not always. So if you want to find a dark spot, those are clues. Things that make you sad sometimes as well. Because behind a lot of anger can be sadness, or the other way around. You have primary emotions and secondary emotions. And if you disguise your primary emotion with secondary emotions. So if you don't dive deeper and you just release the secondary emotions, then you don't solve anything and you haven't healed anything.
Yeah. As you speak, Nicky, yeah, it's so this finding a dark place, to find the dark place, that's bringing up a lot for me. You know, in terms of the design of your sanctuary, the design of your personal power place, right? You know, with Nicky, you know, I'm working as an architect designing, you know, new things for properties. Nicky is also designing with energies in a way, right? Like, you know, you're working, you're orchestrating, you're balancing and bringing energies to a certain level of awareness for your client. So, but as you speak, Nicky, and as these questions stream through, I find it so important that we as a culture make room for spaces that allow us to be with our dark side. So, for example, we were never taught to do anger management as in school, or we were never taught to do to cry and cry and cry and cry growing up. I mean, that's at least my experience, but I just remember, and even, you know, raising my child, you know, relatives and grandmas, you know, whenever my son cried, it's like, oh, let's sing a song. Da-da-da. Oh, look at the bird flying through the window. And he's like, no, but I need to cry, you know.
Yeah.
And not acknowledging and saying, oh, that must feel so bad. I so hear you. I really acknowledge you. And creating those spaces, whether it be in our communities, whether it be in your own home or in your garden, you know, I don't know if it's your altar space. I don't know if it's that yoga room or meditation room or a corner in your bedroom or out in the garden somewhere where you know you can always go and scream your head off and let that rage flow through. We were never taught. It's like, oh, we gotta be nice and proper and right? So much of our dark side has been repressed. And the part that really does need the acknowledgement and the care. And so I'm just, as these stream through, I'm visioning even in traditions like, you know, the red tents, right, for women in their menstrual cycle, you know, they get to go, and I'm not an expert in this at all, but I'm just visioning these spaces and places that honored the menstrual cycle.
Mm-hmm.
In a way, that is a dark element, right? The menstrual cycle is related to the moon, and there is a dark energy. We get really emotional, right, when women have their menstrual cycle. And we're expected to just plow through life during those times, expecting like we're, you know, as if we're robots of some kind that don't feel any emotion. And so putting it into the context of houses and properties, you know, like imagine you have those spaces in an office where you can go and really recharge, cool down, do some yoga. And I know in a lot of more evolved office situations, communities, we have spaces like that. You know, the meditation room, you know, the resting room. That's really important, right? We can't always be in action in the outer world. We need to go into our inner world. And in order to go into our inner world, we must be ready to go into the darkness.
So when you talk to your clients, when you design a new space or a new place for them, we talk about them with this aspect. And how do you give that a shape in their spaces? Do you design the yoga room, or do you talk about an altar space, or do you have those conversations? How does that go?
Yeah, it's a good question. It does tend to naturally evolve through the deepening of their soul's purpose. I lead them through that, and a lot related to their shadow comes to the surface, and then that evolves naturally as a design. You know, a lot of it can also has to do with repression of voice, or when one feels like they're giving too much to the other. I'm thinking about relationships and couples.
Mm-hmm.
And family situations, right? It's like sometimes there are some dynamics in relationships where one is doing more of the giving, right? And sometimes it's important. Sometimes it gets revealed that that person needs to say, no, this is what I need. I need that space for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I need this space for myself, for my creativity. I need this art room. Often it can be the rooms of creativity, that room that is beyond pure function, Nicky.
Mm-hmm.
It's that room that allows one to grow, one's souls to grow, one's soul to grow. And that room, when it is the creative room, the room of creation, whatever that might be, if you're writing or if you are, you know, it might be your office, your home office. It could be a space for your children and their music. I don't know. I don't know what that is. And it may be also be in the garden. Those are the spaces where you can go inward and have this deep reflection. And they're often growing out of spaces on the property that are energetically suitable for
Mm-hmm.
that kind of work.
Yeah. If you happen to live not in a castle with an extra room, because a lot of people are, this energy,
right,
this energy, what you're talking about, is often represented in the children's rooms. Because children's rooms have to have a lot of kinds of energies, especially during the years, because they need to play there, they need to do their homework there, they need to be with their friends there, they need to, well, it's their own space. So if you don't have the luxury of having a specific dedicated space in your property, stay a while in your kids' room to connect with this specific kind of energy, to integrate in your life.
Do you mean the dark energy, or an energy that allows for creation and unfold? Like, I didn't understand.
Both.
Both. Okay.
Both. Because things fertilize in the dark. Creation happens in the dark.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And big clues are the things you think, hell no, those are the things that you need to look at. That's where your biggest transformation is hiding.
Yeah. Anything else? Oh, thanks. That's so great that you join consistently. Thank you. I love your questions. Just looking at the time here. Okay, we're I think we can wrap up now. This was fantastic. I mean, there's a lot coming up. I think next session I'd love to talk about relationships. You know, I'm working on our house with my partner. You know, it's like some of us live alone, some of us live with our partners, some of us live with other family members, some of us live with roommates. I think that would also be a great topic to take up. Yeah.
I'm writing it down, the next one. So if you have any questions about houses, relationships, partnerships, properties, and anything that goes within that context, just drop it in our DM and we'll have a look at it. I think it's a great topic.
Yeah. Awesome, Nicky. Well, it was yet again a fantastic session. I wish you a great rest of the day and an integrated healing and clearing.
Yes, I'll have to watch it again and take my own advice, apparently.
Nice. I love it. Yeah, we can always learn from from these sessions ourselves as well. Yeah. All right. Well,
Thank
talk
you.
to you next time.
Have a nice day.
Bye-bye. You too. Bye.